Do you wake up in the middle of the night to pee frequently? In other words, nocturia? Or do you feel thirsty all of the time? Or maybe you're craving carbs and sugar, and maybe you're not feeling full after you're finished eating a meal. You may be experiencing some of the symptoms of insulin resistance, but to be sure, stay tuned. Hi, and welcome to Nature's Path to Wellness. My name is Wendy, and today we're going to be talking all about the 25 symptoms of insulin resistance. About 96 million Americans have insulin resistance, and 8 out of 10 aren't even aware. Out of those who were eventually diagnosed with having type 2 diabetes, 69% already had high blood pressure. 45% had high cholesterol and 40% had chronic kidney disease, 12% that also had vision impairment. Those who have insulin resistance usually do for a period of about 10 years before eventually being diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. And by that time, their body has already experienced so much damage to their vital organs. What I find sad about this is that insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes are completely preventable. And if you have been diagnosed with a metabolic issue such as type 2 diabetes or insulin resistance, the good news is that it is completely reversible. So let's dive into the 25 symptoms of insulin resistance. Number one, mental issues such as poor focus, brain fog, memory issues, anxiety, depression, and anger and frustration. Number two, sleep apnea. There is a correlation between poor sleep and insulin resistance. And of course, sleep apnea can be caused by a whole list of things, obesity being one of them. But one thing to keep in mind that you don't have to be obese in order to have insulin resistance. Number three, acne. The hormone androgen is high when insulin is high, and this can cause frequent breakouts. Number four, nocturia, which is waking up in the night to go to the bathroom frequently. Number five, not feeling full after eating. So the hormone leptin may not be sensitive in your body if insulin is high. And leptin is the hormone that actually tells you that you are full. And so if you're not feeling full after eating and this hormone leptin is not telling you that you are full, you may also not be absorbing enough of the nutrients from your diet, and you may constantly find that you are wanting to snack all the time. Number six, yeasty beasties. You may be experiencing frequent yeast infections. Number seven, you are probably craving carbs and sweets all of the time, and you're certainly not going to be craving fresh fruit and veggies. Number eight, central adiposity. So this is if you have a big belly. So if you're looking down, and you're not seeing your feet, it's a pretty good sign that you may be experiencing what they call central adiposity. And from the back, you may look perfectly fine, but in the front, you have this big belly. Number nine, visceral fat. So this is fat that surrounds the organs, and you can actually still be skinny and have visceral fat. So it's not something that you might notice from the outside. And this is one really good sign of having insulin resistance. Number 10, high cholesterol levels. This means that you have low HDL levels, which is the good cholesterol, and high LDL levels. And this would be found out from having a test, probably through your doctor's office. Number 11, PCOS, also known as polycystic ovarian syndrome. And this is something that women could be experiencing, and it can affect fertility. Number 12, high blood pressure. So, if you're having high insulin, your kidneys are taxed. And because they do help in controlling blood pressure, they're not able to fully do their job. Number 13, skin tags. This is an interesting one. After having my daughter, I was having insulin resistance and went on to have prediabetes and eventually type 2 diabetes. And I found that I noticed I was having skin tags. So you'll find them sometimes in the folds of the skin, maybe in the armpits, or if you're a woman, maybe just under your breasts or between your breasts sometimes, where your bra lies. And so this is something that I did notice is that I didn't have a whole bunch, but I had one or two, and it was odd. And it was something that appeared again around the time I became pregnant, and it was one of the symptoms. Number 14, low energy and fatigue, and you're feeling like you always want to have a nap. So, this could be most common in the afternoon. They call that the mid afternoon slump. Sometimes what happens is you're consuming your meal, like your lunch, and you've got that lots of carbs and sugar, and afterwards you just feel like your energy is all drained. Number 15, fatty liver. So this is known as non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and this is something that you would need to go and get tested in order to find out that you have it. Number 16, low testosterone. So again, this is something that you would need to be tested for. But what a combination if you have, say, a husband, for example, and a wife who are trying to conceive, and the husband has low testosterone, and the wife has maybe polycystic ovarian syndrome that she's experiencing because of high insulin. And these types of things are basically running rampant in our society now. We have so many people with insulin resistance. So this could obviously lead to some difficulties in trying to conceive. Number 17, inflammation. So something I also experienced, I noticed I was always having sore elbows all the time and a sore back. It was something where I was having difficulty even laying in bed for a long period of time. So I found that I was only able to get maybe 6 hours at the most every night of sleep because my back was always driving me crazy with being sore. And so once I was able to get my insulin levels under control, I found that I could lay down and relax and have a much better sleep. Number 18, high blood glucose levels. So if you've had an A1C recently and it's told you that you have high blood glucose, and of course you're probably experiencing insulin resistance. Number 19, dark skin in the folds. So if you're looking maybe in your armpits or under the breast tissue and even along the back of the neck, there you may be having some dark skin in the folds of the skin, and that can be a sign of insulin resistance. Number 20, low breast milk production due to high androgen levels. Now, this is interesting because after I had my daughter and I was breastfeeding, I did have issues with milk production, and I would have never known that it was one of the symptoms of insulin resistance, but it definitely was, and I wish I'd known then. Number 21, high insulin levels, and this is known as hyperinsulinemia. You would need to get this checked to be certain, and generally the test for that is a HOMA IR test, but no, most doctors won't run this test unless you have an A1C that's been done and it's come back and confirms that you have high blood glucose levels, and then they may send you for the other test. Number 22, peripheral neuropathy. So if you are experiencing pins and needles along the tips of your fingers and maybe just in the palms of your hands and of course in your feet, in your toes, that is something that I experienced. In fact, I remember driving in my car sometimes and my feet would feel really hot, and then sometimes the pins and needles feelings would come on, and then I would get it. Mostly it felt like it was in my thumbs, but that was another symptom that I did experience, and so this can be another symptom of insulin resistance. Number 23, metabolism issues. So if you're having a lot of difficulty in losing weight, you're maybe exercising and nothing seems to be happening, this might be a sign of insulin resistance. Number 24, loss of muscle mass. Now, this one might seem interesting to you, but if your muscles aren't able to properly absorb the amino acids that are being taken in with your diet, then you may experience muscle atrophy. And number 25, a triggered sympathetic nervous system. So if you're always feeling like you're in a state of fight or flight, and you're not getting enough sleep, and then this can just be a vicious cycle. So that could also be a sign of insulin resistance. So what can you do if you're experiencing some of these symptoms? I would strongly encourage you to consider making some immediate changes to your diet, and I would start by cutting out carbs and sugar, any unnecessary processed foods, because there's lots of hidden carbs and sugar there. And I would just, if you're able to at all, remove all of the sugar from your diet. Sugar is one of the number one enemies that is causing insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes. So you're best to have that removed from your diet as soon as possible. And as I mentioned before, Insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes are not a death sentence unless you choose to do nothing about it. So I thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you would like to learn more about insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes, as well as other health information, be sure to like and subscribe. And I do look forward to seeing you again next time.